Our guest today is the Secretary of the Illinois Department of Transportation. She oversees a workforce of over 5,200 employees with oversight of billions of dollars in capital projects. Our guest today is a published author, speaker, and instructor at the University of Illinois at Springfield. She earned her Bachelor's of Art degree from Augustana College in Rock Island. Our guest today earned her master's degree in public administration from the University of Illinois at Springfield. Ladies and gentlemen, Ann Schneider. Ann? Thank you. Well, have fun up here.
Happy New Year, woohoo! It's 2013, hard to believe. I've had to be really careful. I think last time I spoke, when I went to step off the stage, I almost fell on my face. I'm trying to be very careful here. I have a very, very important announcement to make before I tell you about the state of transportation in the state of Illinois. I will not interview for the head coaching job for the Chicago Bears. They did call, but I said, no, I got a better gig here. Plus, I didn't know what I'd do with Jay Cutler. So, seriously though, 2012 was a very busy year for me and the department. Later, I will discuss some of our accomplishments, but before I do, I want to remind everybody here of our vast and varied transportation system in Illinois. A lot of this is really kind of surprising to me, so I just want to make sure that everybody understands what our system looks like. At IDOT, we used to be primarily focused on moving vehicles as efficiently as possible. But more and more, it is becoming apparent that we need to be focused on moving people and goods safely, cost-effectively, and efficiently. Fortunate for me, I work for a governor who understands that and asked the department to be more proactive in planning, programming, constructing, and operating a world-class multimodal transportation system here in Illinois. So what does our system look like? Illinois is at the heart of the country's transportation system. A total of 45 freight railroads currently operate in Illinois over almost 7,800 miles of rail. All 7 Class 1 railroads have a presence in this state, along with 3 regional railroads, 26 short line railroads, and 9 terminal carriers. In 2010, 1.26 billion tons of goods moved from, to, and within this state. And those freight railroads carried 26% of that freight, which was about 325 million tons. And in 2010, Illinois ranked first in the United States in carloads carried with nearly 11 million. The state ranked first in carloads terminated and second in carloads originated. Second in tons originated and second in tons terminated, second in miles of track, and third in tons carried. Clearly, freight railroads are of critical importance as more and more intermodal freight facilities and connectors are driving regional economies here in Illinois. There are 220 intermodal freight facilities, of which 192 are transfer centers between truck and rail. 22 are airport to truck facilities, and 8 facilities connect 3 modes, including air, truck, rail, and/or water. 130 of the intermodal facilities are located here in the Chicago metropolitan area. On the highways front, IDOT is responsible for more than 16,000 centerline miles and nearly 8,000 bridges on our state system. This includes 2,182 interstate system miles. And that is part of a total system of roads, streets, and highways here in Illinois of 140,000 miles and over 24,000 bridges. The highway component of our transportation system is part of what makes Illinois a major freight and passenger hub in the nation. 2 coast-to-coast interstate highways pass through Illinois, Interstate 90 and Interstate 80, along with Interstate 70 that extends from the East Coast to Utah. Major north-south corridors include Interstate 39, Interstate 55, and Interstate 57, and that helps connect Illinois to the Gulf of Mexico and Canada. With Interstate 24 and Interstate 64 in the deep south part of the state, and Interstate 74 and Interstate 72 connecting central Illinois east to west, Illinois ranks third in interstate miles in the nation. More than 7,200 trucking establishments within Illinois, along with other non-Illinois-based carriers, take advantage of this extensive network. In 2010, trucks accounted for 63% of Illinois-based freight volumes, or almost 800 million tons. And based on IDOT's freight plan that we just completed, that percentage is expected to increase to 67% and over 1.1 billion tons by 2040. There is almost 1,100 miles of navigable waterways that either border or pass through our state. These waterways provide the state connections to the Atlantic Ocean via the St. Lawrence Seaway and the Great Lakes, and the Gulf of Mexico via the Illinois and Mississippi rivers. Waterborne freight in Illinois accounts for 11% of all freight volumes and is of critical importance to the state's coal, agriculture, and petroleum industries. There is also an extensive aviation system comprised of 900 landing facilities. There are 128 publicly or privately owned airports in Illinois, 459 restricted landing areas, 291 heliports, 3 seaplane bases, and to my surprise, 2 dedicated balloon ports. Didn't know that. IDOT recently completed an economic impact study on the state's aviation system that found that Illinois airports contribute $40.9 billion to the economy, helping to sustain over 337,000 jobs. And nearly 50 million passengers plane in Illinois each year, primarily through O'Hare and Midway. Illinois' 3 main cargo airports, O'Hare, Rockford, and Peoria, moved over 1.4 million tons of freight. Most of the goods are lightweight and high value that flow through our airports, and that air freight is expected to double by 2040. Across the state, we have 52 public transit providers, and they are key to the safe, efficient, and cost-effective movement of people. Transit systems provide more than 700 million passenger trips every year. This includes 375 million bus trips. By far, the largest transit provider in Illinois is the CTA, which operates the second largest public transportation system in the country, providing 529 million rides, over 140 miles of bus routes, and 224 miles of rapid transit rail. And Alex and Metra provide 82 million rides, over 11 lines, serviced, and this one surprised me, by 241 stations. And PACE provides 33 million rides and is responsible for paratransit service in the region. Intercity passenger rail is also an important component of our transportation system. In fiscal year 2012, intercity passenger rail ridership on state-sponsored trains totaled over 1.8 million people, out of 2.2 million total ridership in the state. That was an increase of 92.5% since fiscal year 2006, and an increase of 4.2% over fiscal year 11, which is amazing considering that during that time we were doing some construction activity on one of the main corridors, and people had to be bussed around that construction activity, and we still saw a 4.2% increase. Under Governor Quinn's leadership, Illinois is aggressively pursuing high-speed intercity passenger rail service based on a decades-old plan that was envisioned having Chicago as the hub of the Midwest and the national systems. The first Illinois high-speed rail corridor between Chicago and St. Louis is well under construction and is expected to be in service on 75% of that route in 2015. We're also working with Governor Schneider in Michigan and with Indiana on providing a 110-mile-per-hour service between Chicago and Detroit. And for the first time in over 30 years, we anticipate operating intercity passenger rail from Chicago to the Quad Cities, my hometown, and from Chicago to Dubuque via Rockford by 2015. We have a tremendous transportation system here in our state, and we are looking for ways to maintain and upgrade the system and the intermodal connections that make that system work seamlessly together. And because of Governor Quinn's vision, and his work with the General Assembly to pass the Illinois Jobs Now Capital Program in 2009, we have been accomplishing a significant amount to that end. Thank you. As I think back over the last year, I am amazed at what we can do working together with our sister transportation agencies and our federal and industry partners. But I also want to make sure I give a shout out to the people that work hard every day at the Department of Transportation, because without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish as much as we've been able to. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Some of the highlights from 2012 include, in fiscal year 12, which was the third year of Governor Quinn's Illinois Jobs Now Capital Program, IDOT improved more than 900 miles of roads and replaced or repaired more than 260 bridges and provided local governments with a $100 million infusion of funding for improvements and operations on their roads. In the spring, we introduced the first ever multi-year multimodal transportation improvement plan that included a plan for the expanded availability of broadband, a focus on sustainable transportation, and a human capital plan that identifies how a world-class transportation workforce that reflects the rich diversity of Illinois' population is important to the success of our efforts. We also experienced the completion and opening of Wacker Drive. And CDOT did a tremendous job as the lead agency on that project. Luann, be sure to pass that along to Gabe. That project was the single largest project funded by the Illinois Jobs Now Capital Program. IDOT also completed the rebuild of a Route 40 bridge that connects Sterling and Rock Falls in north central Illinois. That structure was rebuilt without closing the old structure and provides a multimodal transportation option between the two communities. IDOT also completed the largest federal stimulus highway project and opened it late last year, Route 162 interchange with Interstate 55 down in southwestern Illinois at Troy. Last summer, we broke ground on the Illinois 136 bridge over the US 336 northwest of Macomb, which is a component of completing the last leg of the Chicago to Kansas City Expressway. In the last 18 months, I accompanied the governor, Mary Manuel, U.S. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood, and others to break ground on the Englewood flyover, a Metro-led project that will help reduce freight, passenger, and commuter rail delays by separating the Rock Island corridor from the Norfolk Southern. Last fall, I went to Downers Grove to open a grade separation at Belmont Road. That was another Metro-led project that made a multimodal connection much safer, more environmentally friendly, and leading to less congestion. In September, I went to Algonquin to break ground on the bypass project there that will help to transform the region's traffic flow and create additional opportunities. I was in the Quad Cities this fall to break ground on $47 million in improvements to John Deere Road that will help to expand retail and industrial areas in Moline. In Galesburg, the governor and I cut ribbon on a grade separation project that separates Main Street there from the Burlington Northern Santa Fe tracks that serve BNSF's second largest yard in the nation. 2 more grade separations are planned for that community and will allow for safer multimodal transportation and offer the opportunity for a BNSF expansion project that will create jobs. At the Earth Day Summit in 2012, hosted by Christy and Paula Wolf and others, I announced the winning consultant to help the department with the engineering for reconstructing and upgrading the Circle Interchange. As you know, is the most congested interchange in the nation. The design will incorporate the potential for managed lanes, and we're very excited about that project and moving that project forward. In August, I visited the new Mississippi River Bridge being built in East St. Louis, and I saw Mary Lamy here. Hats off to Mary Lamy for getting that project started and well underway. Way to go, Mary. And I'm really excited about going there in June as the spans will connect mid-river. And it's all very interesting. I've seen the recent pictures. You've got the span coming from the Illinois side, the span coming from the Missouri side, and those engineers better be right. If they're not, we're all in trouble. On that project, 25% of the workers have been minorities and demonstrates our commitment to diversity on IDOT projects. I have to tell you a story. During the visit I had with them last summer, I was very disappointed with our partners from the Missouri DOT. I asked if they had decided what to name the bridge, and they said they had considered naming it, because it's Illinois to Missouri, the Cub Cardinal Bridge. But they didn't want it to quit working in June. Yeah, them were fighting words. And speaking of my favorite baseball team, in promoting our Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over traffic safety campaign, I had the once-in-a-lifetime thrill of throwing out the first pitch at Wrigley Field on Memorial Day. And, the most important part, the Cubs actually won, which, as we all know, was a rare event last year. Yes, yay, Cubs. Another once-in-a-lifetime event was the thrill of being on board Amtrak for the first ever 110-mile-per-hour test run between Dwight and Pontiac. And I am proud to say that that is now in full service on our state-sponsored trains. And working with the California Department of Transportation, IDOT was part of the team to award a $352 million contract for passenger rail cars to Nippon Sharyo in Rochelle, Illinois. It was an exciting day for me when Governor Quinn, Secretary LaHood, and I went to the plant to sign that contract. Nippon Sharyo located that facility because Governor Quinn worked with them on an incentive package that included a freight rail grant from IDOT for a rail spur. That plant now employs over 250 Illinois employees. In October, a grade separation at Illinois Route 38 and Cotts Road was kicked off to separate Route 38 over the Union Pacific Railroad. This is a CREATE project, like the Belmont Road grade separation and the Englewood flyover. As of late 2012, 16 of the 70 CREATE projects have been completed. 33 more are underway and 12 are under construction. Some of the ongoing projects include 130th and Torrance Avenue grade separation, which is key to production at the nearby Ford plant. The Proviso 3rd Main, located in Bellwood, Berkeley, is 70% complete and will add capacity for commuter and freight trains and increase pedestrian safety at stations. The 25th Avenue grade separation at Bellwood and Melrose Park is under design and will move quickly to construction. It was also a big year for the department for getting records of decisions on major projects. With the tollway taking the lead on the Elgin O'Hare Western Access, that record of decision was signed in December. A Tier 1 record of decision was received for double tracking the high-speed rail corridor from Chicago to St. Louis, including identification of the Rock Island corridor as the preferred route for the Chicago to Joliet portion of that corridor. A Tier 2 record of decision came for Springfield Railroad relocation, and I had hoped I would have been able to announce today that we had the Tier 1 record of decision for the Ileana Expressway. We are still waiting for FHWA to sign off on that, but hopefully that will be in the next week or so. IDOT was also on the front line for natural disasters and special events in 2012. Our operations crews were some of the first responders after the February 29th tornado destroyed much of Harrisburg and neighboring communities in southern Illinois. At the governor's direction, we have also played a key role tracking low water levels on the Mississippi and Illinois rivers resulting from the extreme drought we experienced last summer. We have been in constant contact with the Army Corps of Engineers and the U.S. Coast Guard in order to provide our industry partners, transportation groups, and river users with the latest information. And during the first 5 months of 2012, we worked very closely with the City of Chicago, the Illinois State Police, the U.S. Secret Service, and several other partners on ensuring smooth traffic flows and extensive security planning for the NATO summit. I am also proud to announce today that Illinois experienced an unprecedented 4th year in a row with traffic fatalities under 1,000 based on our provisional data. But we have more work to do there. We want to drive 0 fatalities to a reality on our roads because honestly, 1 death is 1 too many. Those are just some of the highlights of what IDOT was able to accomplish in 2012. And as you can tell, it's been a very busy year for us. I am just as excited about 2013 and beyond and what we can achieve. It is imperative that we are successful in our mission to provide safe, cost-effective transportation for Illinois in ways that enhance quality of life, promote economic prosperity, and demonstrate respect for our environment. Multimodal connections are increasingly important for the movement of people and goods as part of that mission. 2013 will present many challenges for transportation in Illinois, but I know with our collective efforts and will, we can meet those challenges head on. The economy of the state, the Midwest, and the nation depends on our ability to do so. As many of you have already heard me talk about, and I'm sorry I'm going to go into this again, but it's that important, one of the biggest challenges that we must work hard to address this year, right now, is the pension squeeze here in Illinois. You've heard the news, you've read the editorials, and you've listened to your friends, families, and neighbors about the impact. But I cannot emphasize enough the negative impact the squeeze will have on our transportation system. IDOT employer contributions for our employee pensions next fiscal year will total almost $185 million, or 40.3% of payroll. In 2006, the same contributions for more employees totaled $29.6 million, or just under 7.8% of payroll. If the contributions per employee remained what it was then, our current program, the program we're in right now, would have been $900 million more than it is. In addition, critical capital funding for transit from the spring 2009 Jumpstart portion of Illinois Jobs Now could have been obligated, allowing for $900 million more for investments in the RTA service board systems. And I can tell you that if nothing is done during this session that they're in right now or in the spring, and the rate of growth and contribution continues, we could be paying close to $400 million in contributions per year in just 6 years. I know my colleagues sometimes question why I would push for a pension fix, and it is because I also will be eligible for retirement in just 1,330 days, not that I'm counting. And I want to know that there will be a sound retirement system that I can rely on. So I think it's really important that our leaders deal with this issue now. We also will need to get the last installment of the Illinois Jobs Now capital program authorized so that we can complete the investments that are critical to our economy and our transportation system. The department will need to have an additional $788 million authorized, and that includes $300 million for transit and rail projects, $288 million for projects on the state's highway system, and $200 million for grants to local governments, including the city of Chicago. Today, while I stand here talking to you, I am hopeful that our bill to create thousands more jobs this year is moving through the General Assembly that will allow the department to fully invest $780 million in funds available to us on additional highway projects and pass through some federal discretionary funding that we successfully competed for. It is important to get this jobs bill as soon as possible so that we can increase the number of projects on our upcoming lettings and keep the economic engine in Illinois humming. We also need appropriations restored so we can complete land acquisition for the inaugural footprint of the South Suburban Airport. Take another drink. The other two challenges we face are closely related. These challenges are to begin addressing the structural imbalance of user-based revenues versus transportation needs at both the state and federal levels. We need to work collaboratively to address this fundamental issue, or our aging system will be at risk of falling into disrepair, and that will increase the cost for moving freight and people. It will increase congestion and the resultant pollution, and it will act as a drag on our economic activity and opportunity here in Illinois. At the state level, Governor Quinn understands the value of our transportation system and what it means to our economy. Between Illinois Jobs Now and the Tollways Move Illinois program, there has been a commitment to almost $30 billion in capital investments in our transportation system, and I can tell you that the governor feels very strongly that it is time now to think about the next capital program, and he will be working on that during the spring session. At the federal level, we need to begin to work with and educate our congressional delegation on the importance of transportation infrastructure investments. MAP 21, the surface transportation bill that was enacted in July, will end next year. And we cannot afford to wait until then to focus on the next surface transportation bill. We will be working closely with the entire delegation to define the need for a world-class transportation system and then help craft a bill that will address those needs. At the end of 2012, the department completed the required state long-range transportation plan, and this includes the state rail plan and the state freight plan. Thank you to those who assisted through public involvement to help make our plan, in my opinion, one of the best in the nation. This plan is designed to provide the overarching framework for the development of IDOT multi-year programs. It establishes a set of policies to guide future network development rather than identifying specific project improvements. The plan also addresses all transportation modes, including those that IDOT does not directly operate. The result is an integrated plan for the entire Illinois transportation system that focuses on strengthening and upgrading our intermodal connections. The plan outlines 12 guiding principles, and those 12 guiding principles include: 1, develop a sustainable Illinois multimodal transportation system. 2, provide a transportation system that offers a high degree of multimodal connectivity, mobility, and accessibility. 3, provide for efficient freight movement. 4, integrate human capital into department planning, programs, and policies. 5, improve transportation safety for all modes. 6, preserve and manage the existing transportation system. 7 is to address congestion and maximize efficiency and effectiveness through transportation operations. In fact, I have directed our new Director of Highways that we should be working on a smart highway plan for this year. 8, follow a comprehensive transportation planning process. 9 is to promote stable funding for the public component of the transportation system. 10 is to ensure compatible interface with the transportation system and the environment, social, energy, and land use considerations. 11 is to target transportation investments to support business and employment growth and the Illinois economy enhancement. And 12 is to provide a secure transportation infrastructure in conjunction with the Office of Homeland Security and the Illinois Terrorism Task Force. In addition, we have set goals for each of these policies and developed specific action plans that identify areas of responsibility. In addition, we are creating performance measures beyond those we currently use to prioritize investments and provide direction for department operations. This plan is energizing in fresh and exciting ways. And if I hadn't talked too long already, I would have read the executive summary to you. But I do ask that you check it out on our website. The executive summary should be going up in the very near future. It has been a pleasure to be here today to talk to you. I want to thank you for your indulgence in allowing me to tout our accomplishments, lay out our challenges, and present our plan for the future. I hope that you all have a very happy and blessed 2013. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Secretary. Tim?
Madam Secretary,
Yes, sir.
did posting all the daily fatalities help drive down your trend?
Since we made the decision in May, June, Tim Martin, former Secretary of Transportation, asked whether or not the adding the fatalities to our signage made any difference. And since we had made the decision to do that in May and June, we have seen a 7-month trend of lower fatalities than what we had the prior year. At the time we made that decision, fatalities were running about 80 over what we had experienced over the same time period last year. And so we did see a significant improvement. I can't point to that and say that's the reason, but obviously raising awareness helps us in that campaign.
Any other questions? That's the same question. I think now they're just starting to feel sorry for us. They want to send them up. Steve Schlickman, UIC. How is the PACE bus on shoulder operation on I-55. How's that going?
My understanding is that's been a very successful program, and PACE has experienced an increase in ridership. I believe the ridership's doubled, and their on-time performance is running in the 90% and above range, which is a huge improvement over what it had been prior to that program. So that is a program that we're looking more towards expanding and seeing if there are other places on the expressway system in the northeastern Illinois area that can benefit from such a program.
We just funded a large expansion.
Oops, and the RTA just funded a very large expansion of the project. That's good.
Any other questions? All right, hold on. Let's give her a round of applause. That was fabulous. Thank you, and thank you, Miguel.